Hi! Today I'm here with Rosianna from youtube.com/Rosianna. Today we want to talk about personality tests. I've talked before about the Hogwarts houses test quiz and sorted different literary characters into different Hogwarts houses, but there's much more. Much more. And we discussed a lot of this over Christmas.
Yeah, Sanne came over and joined my family for Christmas, and one thing we like to do is, assess each other and get in deep. My different family members are interested in different types of quizzes as well, so it's very much the personality test they chose says a lot about their personality.
Yeah, it's really fun. Today we want to just run through a couple of different tests, talk about which personalities we are, and if there's any value to them, really. First of all, what have you sort of seen personality tests used for? Have you used them in your professional life at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when I worked at Top Man Oxford Circus, then there was a portion to kind of get up in title and in pay, you had to complete this book that, I don't know, was like a handbook, and you did a test that was the colour test, was the 4-colour test?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And you identified which colour you were, and what that told you about how you work and what your strengths and weaknesses are, but also it helps you identify other people around you and their strengths and weaknesses too, which is interesting because I felt like when I was talking about it with the managers, it was very much discussed in terms of these are these person's natural roles, rather than necessarily everyone being different roles and noticing their different tendencies. It was very much well, the blues will work in the stock room.
Right. We did it with work as well, and I think the way it was discussed with us was if you could choose your perfect way of working, this is your environment that you would naturally gravitate towards, if that makes sense. That's the colour test, which we'll come back to soon. And I think a lot of people, when they do job interviews, they have to take Myers-Briggs tests and stuff as well. I think it's good if it's used in a sort of, let's see how the team can best work together, but it's tricky when it comes to, oh, you're not the right personality according to this test, so we don't want to hire you.
I mean, I think about this in terms of all kinds of tests, not just personality tests. I think of this in terms of the Bechdel test, for example. It's just a tool. It's one new perspective. It offers a different perspective. It may provide insight. It may be rubbish. I think as long as you're thinking of it as a tool rather than as a solution in and of itself.
Or a final answer.
Yeah, it can be useful and fun and helpful, but it can also, be definitive to some people, and that's when I get a bit weird about them. Then I'm like, oh.
As we know with the sorting hat, your own choice comes into the matter. Do you feel like that works for the tests as well? If you get a result that you think doesn't match?
Yeah, I do, absolutely, but I've just never had that experience. I think my results across the board on tests have been very definitive and have been things that I've sort of aligned myself with, but I do think that you can choose to disagree with things, and I think that's right, because there's not just 4 types of people in the world, there's not just 12 types of people in the world, there are billions and billions of people in the world, and all of them are their own type.
I found when I was doing one of the tests, there was one question that for me very obviously indicated a certain thing, and I answered one of the most extreme answers to that, but then all my other answers in that category would undo that question almost. So should we start Myers-Briggs?
So MBTI, you might also have heard of it referred to, and there's another way of referring it to that I can't remember.
The 16 personalities test? Is
that's another one. I don't know. It's basically based on Carl Jung's philosophies, the philosopher Carl Jung, and then it was adapted from that way of thinking.
A while ago there was this website that launched, because the last time I looked into Myers-Briggs this website didn't exist, and it's called 16
I think 16
personalities.com. There you go. And you can take the test there if you're interested, but you can also, it has nice illustrations, and it really really clearly indicates what it is.
It's a great website.
So the way that this test works is that you get 4 letters out of it, and all the letters have 2 options. So it's for example, the first option is E or I, so extrovert or introvert, that kind of thing. So what are you?
I'm an ENFJ.
Okay, I'm gonna Google it. ENFJ. Can you tell me a little bit about what that one is and what it means?
Well, we kind of made fun of me over Christmas because it's the protagonist, which, I mean, fine, I'll take being the protagonist.
The illustration here is really funny. It's got a sort of Game of Thrones type warrior with a dragon in the background.
So it's very leadership, strong personalities, project a lot of confidence, even though not necessarily always having confidence. I think it's the one where external validation is sometimes overweighted.
Okay.
But it's also really interested, I'm really interested in people as an ENFJ.
It's really good in indicating strengths and weaknesses and what you're it's kind of sometimes like a horoscope, the way it's set up.
Oh yeah.
Obviously not all of it will fit, but I think it's an interesting way of doing the test and seeing does this match with how I see myself and how others see me?
And like sometimes that can be good at indicating places where you maybe don't see yourself as clearly. And I feel like sometimes those are the moments when you go, oh God, it sees me.
Yeah, I like when you look at the weaknesses. They're like, you're at your worst when you do this and this. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, I want to find what my weaknesses are.
I'll put links to all these in the description, by the way, if you want to read along.
I'm tolerant, reliable, charismatic, altruistic, natural leader. I am overly idealistic, too selfless. I don't think that's true. Too sensitive, fluctuating self-esteem. Never! Struggle to make tough decisions. I think that's true. But,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. I did this test a while ago and I got something out of it, which was ENTJ. So the ENTJ is the commander, but I always consider myself to be an introvert. Now this starts with an E, so it's extrovert. The other option is then INTJ, which is, I think, the architect. Reading both of them, I think I'm somewhere in between. I consider myself an introvert just from the fact of I gain energy from being by myself and I lose energy from being around people. But I think most of the characteristics that I display and that other people see is of extroversion. So I think people would think I'm an extrovert, even though I'm going like, no, I'm definitely an introvert. But when you answer the questions and it's like, are you confident talking in groups? I'm like, yes. Like, or do you enjoy having conversations with people? Yes. Like, all, like, can you introduce yourself to strangers? Yeah. It's like all that stuff points to extroversion. So the commander, basically a lot of this is like 2% of the population, and it's a lot of it is leadership stuff. Let's go to strengths and weaknesses, and a lot of it is like productivity and project driven, which I think that's probably one of the biggest things I would put in my personality, is just like the energy to make stuff, go do stuff. Strengths is efficient, energetic, self-confident, strong-willed, strategic thinker, charismatic and inspiring. It's really weird to read out like lots of positive
I quite like
words that you're just like, so this is what I am.
As a protagonist, I'm with it.
Weaknesses: stubborn and dominant, intolerant, impatient, arrogant, poor handling of emotions, cold and ruthless. I think this is very much when you put it quite into the extreme. Like there's certain things that I'm like, you know, impatient and judgmental and stuff like that. I'm like, sometimes poor handling of emotions is really funny because sometimes I am bad at like reading situations.
I just thought that's because you're Dutch.
Maybe that's also just me. I don't know.
You're really the only Dutch person I know.
One of the other reasons I think I might be more of an ENTJ than an INTJ is that INTJ does a lot of self-reflection, which I don't do that much.
Except right now when you're making a video about personality tests.
But I'm not the person that will come home from a party and go like, ooh, that one conversation I had with this person, how did they feel about it? I'm like, no, I've already moved on to the next thing.
Ruthless.
The other thing is that I redid the test yesterday and I got like something entirely different.
Oh, I always want to redo it and see.
When I looked at the results, they show you the percentages for each letters. I looked at it and I was like, that doesn't seem accurate.
Yeah.
And again, I think sometimes I got the one that was like the jock and cheerleader one. You love being of service to people, which I do, but then all the other stuff, I was like, this doesn't really fit with me. Anyways, this is when it comes to play where you're like, actually, sometimes you get to sort of not make your own decisions, but
not
slightly choose
not
between
Slytherin.
them. Not Slytherin.
Not Slytherin.
Okay, should we do the colour one?
Oh yeah.
What's it called?
4-colour test? Was it
4-colour test? Something like that. What are you?
I'm a red.
You're red.
I'm
What does
a
that
red.
mean?
Leadership.
So from what I remember, red is get it done.
Get it done.
Just get it done. Which
oh my god, I think I've said that in a previous video. But I do want to just get it done.
Yeah,
I do.
So blue is what I am. It's also my favourite colour, so that's great.
Also, Gryffindor, Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
We figured it out, JK Rowling. We know.
So blue is basically the organizational, like, let's get all the details. So if we were organising a party, you would be like, listen, this is where we're doing this, you're doing this, and I'd be like having a spreadsheet, like noting everything down, doing the times.
I think we've probably done that.
Yeah. And then the other two ones are green is the sort of more compassionate thing, like everyone needs to have a good spot in the group and everyone needs to get their voice heard and they're sometimes a bit more quiet. And then yellows are the sort of big ideas, people who aren't as concerned with the details. That is a really useful one for like work related stuff, I think. Just so you can be like, okay, this is how you work, this is how
I think as long as it's in that term rather than in like roles itself, then I
Yeah.
think it's really helpful, especially with like teamwork when you have to work together.
So you can see like, does this team have colors from all groups? And that's how it works at its best, because also the instructor we had was very much going, this is a yellow at its best, this is a yellow at its worst.
Okay.
So this is a new one. I hadn't heard of this before.
I think it's either the Enneagram, which is how I was thinking of it, or the Enneagram is how I heard a podcast that she linked to talk about it. The teachings of Oscar Ichazo and Claudia Naranjo.
So it's 9 personality types, and it very much goes with like this number works well with this number and not as well with this number.
I think so, yeah. It's like got like wings, and you can also be like a
strong
number wing something else as well.
So I haven't taken the official test for this one, but I looked through them and I was like, this is mine. So on Wikipedia there's a nice graph, and it sort of has the name of it, and then it says like basic fear, basic desire, temptation. What are you?
I'm a 3.
What is that?
I'm I'm achiever. An achiever.
What are your strong points and your weaknesses?
I'm gonna have to read this. This one was so personal to me. I read the description and I read like some of the like weaknesses, and I just felt myself filled with this feeling of like walking out in the street naked or something. I felt so exposed.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
And it's funny because they're like different from the other tests, so like different things that are pulled out, but I feel like if you combine them all you get a good overview of a person.
It doesn't have to be one on its own, it can be many. Okay, so the achiever, number 3, ego fixation is vanity, holy idea is hope and law, basic fear is worthlessness, basic desire is to feel valuable, temptation is pushing self to always be the best, vice passion is deceit, virtue is truthfulness and authenticity.
This is funny because I was reading this thing and I'm number 1, the reformer, and I read the first one, I was like, oh, this is me. Then I read the other ones and I was like, no, it's definitely this one. So my ego fixation is resentment. I do hold a grudge sometimes. That's probably one of my vices. My holy idea is perfection. I have a huge issue with being a perfectionist and trying to balance that with productivity. Getting it done is better than getting it perfect.
That's the Reds would say.
That's the tattoo that I should get.
On your face.
My basic fears are corruptness, imbalance, and being bad. I will never get on a train without a valid ticket, ever.
This is also the example that you brought up at Christmas. Like, this is clearly like...
I will not skip a
dreams.
queue. I will not, like, I stick to the rules. Even when it's like really little things that don't matter, I'm like, no. Basic desire is goodness, integrity, and balance. It says like my vice is anger, my virtue is serenity, and my temptation is hypercriticism and hypocrisy,
as well.
which is interesting.
So we have to talk about the real personality test, which is horoscopes.
Oh my god.
Because horoscopes are ridiculous, but they're really fun.
I don't have a lot of connection with horoscopes. I didn't even know that much about my own horoscope.
I have 2 sisters. My older sister loves horoscopes, and my mum always grew up reading us the horoscope section in the Sunday Times magazine when she got there, and like what's okay, let's see what Leos are doing today, whatever. So I have always regarded them with deep suspicion, because I think that just because of when you're born doesn't say anything about yourself. However, I'm also at the same time really connected to them and love them. So and I will like do, my sister has all these websites that she loves to visit that do like personal portraits and tell you about your relationships and all of this stuff, and every now and then I'll just go in like a deep dive and just look for something to say something about myself. And I think that that's the real temptation of things like horoscopes, is that you just want someone to give you some knowledge and understanding about who you are in a deep way that we don't necessarily get all the time.
And it's also a thing where it's like you want some sort of explanation for why you are the way you are.
Yeah. Are you an Aquarius?
I'm an Aquarius.
What is the Aquarius?
Are you a Leo?
Never, yes.
The Aquarius, I just have a random website up.
Okay.
Astrology-zodiac-signs.com.
Sounds very reliable.
So I'm just gonna read out strengths, weaknesses, likes, and dislikes.
Okay.
So strengths: progressive, original, independent, humanitarian. Weaknesses: runs from emotional expression.
Sorry.
Temperamental, uncompromising, aloof.
1 out of 4.
Aquarius likes fun with friends. Helping others, fighting for causes, intellectual conversation, a good listener. Aquarius dislikes limitation, broken promises. Ooh, I deal very poorly with broken promises.
And then you hold a grudge, as previously mentioned.
Being lonely, dull or boring situations, people who disagree with them.
What's What's Leo? What's Leo?
Okay.
Tell me more, tell me more.
Is it gonna get like Leonardo DiCaprio up? Okay, Leo.
Strengths: creative, passionate, generous, warm-hearted, cheerful, humorous.
No.
Weaknesses: arrogant, yes. Stubborn, yes. Self-centered, yes. Lazy, no. Inflexible. Leo likes theatre, taking holidays.
Excuse
I'm
me.
going to the theatre tonight and I'm on a holiday. Being admired, expensive things, bright colours, fun with friends.
You're very much a Leo.
I've told you! Leo dislikes being ignored, facing difficult reality, not being treated like a king or queen. Yes, it's all so true! Except for lazy, I'm really not lazy.
If any of you know a lot about horoscopes and stuff,
Please tell me more about
we'd
myself.
love to hear. My birthday is January 25th.
And mine is the 15th of August. And when I was born, the sun was in Leo, the moon was in Scorpio, there was an ascendant in Sagittarius, Jupiter was in the 8th house, Saturn was in the 2nd house, the sun was in the 8th house.
Nice.
If that's helpful. This is what happens when you have Antonio as an older sister. Have you done the sorting house quiz with all of the
I think
watchable
I
questions?
think I have. I've done the official one on Pottermore and got Ravenclaw. I think I did one time and got Hufflepuff maybe.
What?
Although I feel like I'm a Ravenclaw with sometimes Slytherin tendencies. It's a weird, the only thing I'm not is Gryffindor, basically. I'm 0% Gryffindor, I'm like 70% Ravenclaw, and then the rest Hufflepuff and Slytherin.
I took the all house personality quiz and got, I think it was 92% Gryffindor
Nice.
and then 20% everything else. Or like little split up.
Little bits, yeah. I'm just not a Gryffindor in any way. Gryffindors would totally get on the train without paying for their ticket, just saying.
I have always paid for my ticket.
Gryffindors in general.
Excuse you.
I always joke about how I could never be friends with Gryffindors.
And
but
all
then
of your friends are Gryffindors. Lex is a Gryffindor.
I know.
Emily's a Gryffindor.
I don't know. Emily,
Emily,
what house
what
are you in?
Tell us in comments.
That's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have taken these tests, let us know what you are. If you feel like that matches yourself deep inside your heart, and if you use it in your daily life. I'm just curious like how people use it to shit, because sometimes I feel like now that I've taken some of these tests, now that is an image that is attached to me, and then that changes how I respond to situations.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, oh well, I've decided now I'm this kind of personality, and then you sort of stick to that almost. 'Cause
Yeah.
you've thought about it a lot. And I wonder if you don't think about it at all, if your behavior's different. I don't know.
That makes sense to me.
Cool. Go check out Rosianna's channel over at youtube.com/Rosianna. We've done lots more videos together, so go check all those
It's a
out.
collabs playlist.
Oh man. I will talk to you guys later.
See you soon.
Doei!